Hi, my name is Chelsea, and this is my first YouTube video ever. If you're new here, that's so great. So am I. And if you're not new here, then wow, that means I kept this thing going, and I should thank you for coming back and watching an older video and joining me once more. Okay. So, a little tidbit about me is that I have recently turned 26 years old. And as a gift, my family very generously decided to buy me 26 books for 26 years. On top of that, I had a couple gift cards from various holidays. And altogether, this amounted to the biggest book haul of my life. So what better way to force me to make a YouTube, I guess? Hurry up, make a YouTube, and share some of the titles I am so excited about. Because who can have too many books? Am I right? Okay, so starting off is Donna Tartt's The Secret History. And if you don't know this book, then number one, where have you been? And number two, where have you been? Because Donna Tartt is the mother of a very popular genre and one of my favorites, dark academia. Dark academia takes the academic setting and sprinkles in some magic or sprinkles in some crime and shows the darkness behind some academic settings. In this case, a group of boys, I think it's boys. I would like to take a moment to say again that this is a book haul, so take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt. The information that I have on these books are based off of synopses, reviews, a lot of booktubers and content creators I watch, and not so much on first-hand knowledge because, again, I haven't read these before. So again, for Donna Tartt's The Secret History, I think it's a group of boys, I'm not sure. College students, I think, are taken hold by a charismatic professor, and there's a crime at foot, and there's darkness underneath the classics, and they really explore, so I hear, morality and things like that. It's giving Dead Poet Society, but darker. And I am all for that. So, Donna Tartt's A Secret History. And speaking of academic settings, next we have, of course, Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia Faeries. We have Cambridge professor Emily Wilde, who's good at many things, so the back of the book says. And she is particularly an expert on fairies. This book has to encompass probably every facet of my interest in books. We have the studious, introverted professor. We have magic and fairies. We have a little romance. So I am just so excited for this book. It has topped some of my favorite content creators' best of 2023 list. And I waited so long on it that there is actually now a sequel. So I get to read them both at the same time. And I guess that's one of the pluses of being behind the curve on things like this. As regards for what it's about, we have Emily Wilde, again, a Cambridge professor, and she is going out into the woods to do some field work. And she is confronted's a strong word. She is joined by fellow colleague, and between the two of them, they explore the world of fairies. And that's where some of our academic knowledge tends to lack, because fairies, as to their stereotype, are a little mysterious, a little magical, hidden, and good at hiding. So I'm excited. I'm excited to learn about fairies. Speaking of academia, kind of continuing this through line, we have in these hollow halls, a dark academia anthology. Look at her reading an anthology. Oh, I don't read many anthologies. I don't read many short stories. I feel like that's not because I don't like them, but because I haven't been exposed to many. So I'm excited that I found this and that it's a genre I like. So we have authors such as Olivia Blake, who I would say is one of the front runners for dark academia, with her series Atlas 6 coming to such great reviews and fame. She also wrote one of my favorites of last year, Alone with You in the Ether. Her prose in that book is absolutely gorgeous. There was something about Alone with You in the Ether that skyrocketed it to the top of my favorite books list. It just resonated inside me to the point where it hurt. And I don't know if that says a little too much about me, considering the characters and the premise, but I cannot recommend that book enough, especially if you might have been like a John Green reader in high school. I feel like it has that energy, but adult. So I would definitely check out Alone with You in the Ether. And we also have author M.L. Rio, who wrote We Were Villains, which is another one of my favorite books of last year. It's a dark academia. It takes place in a Shakespearean theater program. So for all my thespians out there, so cool. I danced and did theater in high school, so that particularly resonated with me, I guess. But M.L. Rio is also a brilliant, brilliant writer, so I'm excited to read another thing by them. And there's so many more authors in here. I'm so excited. I'm hoping to find a new favorite writer, and hopefully that will expose me to their collections and their other novels, and we can discover a whole bunch of favorites. I think that's one of the joys of anthologies and collections. So I'm excited. But speaking of Olivia Blake, we have Masters of Death. The back of this book has just 2 lines on it. There is a game that the immortals play. There is only rule. Don't lose. And so I'm hoping not to lose out and get to reading this very soon. It is about a real estate agent, I believe. Yes, real estate agent Viola Marks is struggling, and also a vampire. But her biggest problem currently is that the house she needs to sell is haunted. The ghost haunting the house has been murdered, and until he can solve the mystery of how he died, he refuses to move on. Fox DeMora is a medium, and though he's almost definitely a shameless fraud, he isn't entirely without his uses, seeing as he's actually the godson of death. We love, and I am saying love, we love a sexy personification of death. I'm sorry, we do. That's one of my things, and I'm not ashamed. Another thing about Olivia Blake, and specifically Atlas 6, and apparently Masters of Death, is she has such beautiful illustrations and inside covers of all of her novels. I am so impressed by her relationship with her illustrator. It gets me so excited to read this book. Again, I'm an illustrator full-time, so I might have a little too much appreciation when authors do things like this, but I don't know, it just, doesn't it make you excited? It makes me excited. It looks gorgeous. I love visuals. So there we have Masters of Death. Excited. And then next we have a trilogy. And that trilogy is R.F. Kuang's The Poppy Wars. R.F. Kuang is another author that stole my heart. My heart. Every beating breath of it last year with her novel Babel. I know I'm not the first to say this, but Babel was brilliant. It is another dark academia book, but more so than that, it tackles real-world themes in a fantasy-esque setting. It very poetically laments on colonialism and the darkness behind academia, but not just like death and murder and mystery as in some dark academias, but the real internal struggles of academia and history writers, and who gets to record our history? Only the winners. And historically, only the whites. So Babel tackles a lot of that. It talks a lot about translation. Their magical system revolves around translation. And so that's very interesting, learning about languages. It does have particularly dense sections where it's lecturing about not academics, but about vocabulary and root words and how to find an authentic translation and what makes an authentic translation, such as, do you really want to translate word for word from one language to another? What if one language's words have more of a connotation than another? What if it's a different connotation? What if that connotation doesn't exist in the language you're translating into? What do you do then? And that's kind of where the fun of Babel starts to unravel. So as far as the Poppy Wars, I know absolutely nothing about it. I don't know a single thing about this series besides that is the Poppy War. This is the Dragon Republic. And this is the Burning God. And that's all I care to know, because I must say it. I trust R.F. Kuang with my life. I would sell my soul to her. I would probably gift her my firstborn child if she asked for it in exchange for another novel. And I think this is another part where I'm probably revealing too much about myself. I think YouTube's going to turn me into an oversharer. I just kind of feel it. I feel like YouTube is going to make me feel a little too safe in an empty environment and let me talk to myself and to you guys a little too much. But hopefully that's fun. Hopefully all good things. And moving on, we have a duology, The Dark Window. This is another one where besides it's gothic and moody, I really don't know anything about it. I saw that some of my favorite content creators were reading it in a book club, and they were raving about it. I've seen it on my recommendation list on Amazon and Goodreads, and etc., etc. I've seen it pop up on some Facebook groups I'm in. So I just took the plunge, and we're going to see what happens. I'm for it. So this is A Dark Window, and the sequel is Two Twisted Crowns. Cool. Okay, the next is a rather big one. I am almost certain if you have been on Booktube and Book Talk and other such mediums recently that you know a little author named Ali Hazelwood. She has the romance genre absolutely in a chokehold. Between her and Emily Henry, I don't know. Are there more romance authors? I don't know. There are, I'm just kidding. But Ali Hazelwood is one of the big names right now, and she is well known for her first novel, A Love Hypothesis, and the following novels where it predominantly focuses on a female main character, usually in the STEM field, and that's what she explores. Except in this book, she decided to broach into the world of fantasy. And so we have, of course, Ali Hazelwood's Bride. And we've got vampires. And we got werewolves. And knowing that her first novel, A Love Hypothesis, began as a Raylo fic, listen, if you can do it, do it. I'm all for that. If she can make it work, then girlfriend, make it work. Make it work for you. But I'm guessing she has a lot of fan fiction background, because I'm just getting the sense that We're about to get some monster smut. Okay. I can do that. I hope it's good. I'm very intrigued. We'll find out. Monster politics, monster love. Okay. And next, we have Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed. I've heard great things about Ava Reed. I know she recently came out with a YA book. I was interested in getting that one too. It just seems like she has an aesthetic that I really appreciate, this gothic fantasy kind of ordeal. This is supposed to be a retelling of the Juniper Tree, and it has to do with identity and family and escaping a toxic family. And the blurb on the back says it's perfect for fans of Shirley Jackson. So that's intriguing to me. And again, this cover, wow, love it. So yeah, that's Juniper and Thorn. I'm very excited to read this and maybe talk about it in particular, because I think it's going to be really good. I think it's going to top my fantasy faves. Fingers crossed. Next, we have The Library at Mount Shar. I really don't know much about this, besides that one of my favorite content creators recently read it. So I'm going to go ahead and read the back to you. Carolyn knows she's a little bit odd, but she figures that's only natural when she's spent her life locked away in an infinite library, forced to study at the feet of a man who might be God. She's seen her share of terrible things in those years, even died a few times herself. Steve tries hard to be an ordinary guy, and he's been doing a pretty good job at it, until Carolyn shows up in his life with a tempting offer: a pair of red rubber galoshes and exactly $327,000. Soon he finds himself swept up in a war raged on a scale he can barely comprehend, as powerful forces battle for control of the library and the future of the universe itself. Brilliantly plotted, blackly funny, truly epic in scope, and featuring a cast of characters that include a tutu-clad psychopath. Okay. A tutu-clad psychopath, a malevolent iceberg, and a lion named after an atomic bomb. The Library at Mount Shar is this year's most ambitious and acclaimed fantasy debut, and a ride like none you've ever seen before. So that told me absolutely nothing, and yet absolutely everything I need. This one's for me. I can just feel it. This is another vibe. Maybe I will become a tutu-clad psychopath. What a description. What an honor. Okay, next we have a book titled YN, and in the fanfiction realm and other online spaces, that is often used as a acronym for your name, where in fanfiction you are supposed to read along, and in place of anywhere where it says YN, you replace your own name in that section so that you are the one in the story romancing your favorite celebrity crush or fictional character. And I feel like this book is going to really explore parasocial relationships, which I'm excited about. I feel like that's a space that's not talked about enough, and can be really toxic, especially for younger minds who are constantly online. Maybe COVID exacerbated that a bit, where there's a lot of streamers interacting with their audience, and you feel closer to these people than maybe is truly accurate. So I'm really excited to see what YN has to say. I think it's about a K-pop band and a K-pop idol, which is a world I'm not incredibly knowledgeable in, but I do know that its fandom is very excitable, and very involved. So I think that will be a very interesting story, and I'm excited to get to it. Next we have, okay, bear with me because I am not going to say this correctly. We have Clytemnestra. Clytemnestra. Which is a Greek retelling. I feel like it's for fans of Madeline Miller. If you've read Circe, brilliant story. If you've read Song of Achilles, I feel like this is going to be another one for you. I cannot recommend those two enough, and I'm very excited to crack into more myths because Madeline Miller made me completely fall in love with Greek retellings. I read both of those, and learning more about these characters that were undersold in the original myths just alighted some kind of hidden passion within me. And I went on and I watched Hadestown, the musical on Broadway, and I fell in love with that. And I've been on a search for more like that. So we have Clytemnestra, and the few lines on the back say, "As for queens, they are either hated or forgotten. She already knows which option suits her best. You are born to a king, but you marry a tyrant. You stand by helplessly as he sacrifices your own child to placate the gods. You watch him wage war on foreign shore, and you comfort yourself with violent thoughts of your own. Because this was not the first offense against you, this was not the life you ever deserved, and this will not be your undoing. Slowly, you plot." Feminist icon? Maybe. Queen? Certainly. Yes. I think so. And speaking of feminist icon, we have a classic, Camilla. This predates Dracula by, I'm pretty sure, like a quarter of a century, and is one of the novels that inspired Dracula. So I'm going to say it's one of the first well-known vampire stories, and I am so excited to crack into that. Not to mention, this edition has, you guessed it, illustrations. Can we just take a moment about how gorgeous this is? The hatching, brilliant. I adore. I am obsessed. Not to mention, Camilla, I hear, is a little sapphic. Obsessed. I don't know how you can get more bonus points than this edition just won, because I am beyond excited to read a classic. Right? So, moving on. We have What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I have been dying to read a T. Kingfisher book because I feel like he is just one of the names in horror right now that has dominated. And most of his books are short, and most of his covers are gorgeous. This one in particular is one of my faves. And I, in particular, chose this one because it is supposed to be I wouldn't say retelling, reimagining. It's supposed to be a reimagining of Edgar Allan Poe's Fall of the House of Usher, which is my favorite Edgar Allan Poe story, which is saying something because I am from Baltimore, Maryland, where Edgar Allan Poe's resting place is, and Marylanders, they're kind of obsessed. I read so many Edgar Allan Poe stories growing up, and I don't know, I'm really excited for this. I feel like I'm going to really enjoy it, and I haven't really explored the horror genre as much as I would have liked to, so I'm hoping that this is a good stepping stone into that. I have a few other horror novels coming up, but this one in particular, I just feel like it's going to be a really good segue into what I know, into what I hope to want to explore. Next, we have The Dictionary of Lost Words, and this is another book about words. I feel like readers and writers in particularly have a fascination with reading about reading and writing. I know I do. So this one's about words. Particularly, it's based on real events, historical fiction, I believe. And it's about the men behind the Oxford English Dictionary, and one of the children of these men get to see the words that are discarded from the dictionary, the ones that are not included. And she notices that there's some trends in those words that are not chosen to be in the dictionary. And then she herself takes it upon herself to create a project, her own dictionary, a dictionary of lost words, words that weren't included. And I feel like this is going to be a really powerful book, a take on feminism and on minorities and on cultures that aren't, once again, kind of like R.F. Kuang's Babel, a story on words that and language that was overshown by what the majority, what the upper class tend to enjoy instead. And my only complaint, and it's one that will show up later again, is that Reese's Book Club sticker is not a sticker, and it is in fact printed on the cover. If we could not do that in the future, that would be great for me. I feel like I invested in Gugon for this reason, and they knew it. They knew I was doing that, so they decided to print it straight on, so I could not pick the sticker off. And frankly, I find that rude. Let's not do that. Let's not. Next we have, okay, take a minute because this cover, it's my favorite. It's my favorite out of all of them, and that is saying something because there's some gorgeous covers in these stacks. But we have the center. Who gave you the right? I wish I was them. I wish I could paint like that. This is gorgeous and evocative and moody and brilliant. And I feel as if we should print cover artist names on the covers as well as the author, because whoever says they don't judge a book by its cover is lying. I think we all judge books by its cover. I think marketers and publishers and bookstore owners, they all know that. They make displays that entice us, that mess with our psychology and make us buy more. They know it, and they use it. So we should know it and not lie to ourselves. Unless you are one of those people who really adore blind date with books, where you go and buy a book that's covered in like that brown craft paper to authentically experience not judging books by its covers, then you totally judge books by its covers, even if you don't mean to. I feel like you do. So this one sold me. It sold me. And it happens to be another book about translation and words. So imagine that. It looks like I have, maybe Babel just changed my life. Maybe that's it. Maybe it didn't just steal my heart, but also my mind and altered my taste, because here's another book about translation. And in this one, it is about a translator and their boyfriend who has a knack for languages. Well, something is a little mysterious when that boyfriend comes home and suddenly knows all of a language he didn't know previously in an incredibly short amount of time. And we learn about the center, which is a place where you go to learn a language. Except there's something a little weird about the center. There's something that's not being advertised here. And I feel like it's going to get a little dark. It's going to get a little creepy. And I feel like I'm going to love every minute of it. I am so excited for this little treasure. So there's the center. Keeping on this through line of reading and writing, we have The Writing Retreat. This is a controversial title from what I'm aware of. I have heard either you like it or you hate it. One or the other, there is no in between. Either it resonates with you or it doesn't, and I feel like I love that. I want to know if I'm going to have the hot take. I want to know if I'm going to be on one side or the other. That's very exciting for me. I feel like 1 stars sometimes are equally enticing as 5 stars. So here we have The Writing Retreat, and it is about a writer who gets invited to this retreat, and they are being challenged to finish their manuscript to win some kind of prize. But then one of the writers go missing. And then we get the thriller aspect. Are they dead? Are they alive? Are we going to get murdered? We'll find out together in the writing retreat. Next, we have The Starling House. Again, that sticker is not a sticker. So thank you. Thank you for that. Alex E. Harlow is a best-selling author, and they wrote, I believe, The 10,000 Doors of January, neither of which I've read, but I feel like this is going to be a fun one. It is predominantly about a girl who's from a very small town. And not many things happen in this town, but one thing that has happened is the author of a very famous book, The Underland, disappeared over 100 years ago, and that's kind of what their town is known for. So when this young girl gets a chance to explore the house in which this author lived, she takes it up, and then mystery, sinister forces. We love it. And again, this cover, gorgeous. I'm sold. This is one of those ones where, I judged this book, and I judged it well based on its cover. So I hope it's everything I think it to be. Next, we have another duology, and it's one of the ones that I know very little about. I know that it's a tournament book, and I know that the first book is called All of Us Villains, not to be mistaken with If We Were All Villains, which is one of my favorite books, as I mentioned before. But I hear that this is a dark, magical, tournament-type story, and its sequel is All of Our Demise. All of Our Demise. And again, we have that gold foil that drives me crazy, so I have high hopes. I want to go into this one blind. I just feel like it's going to be one of those that is appreciated more because of that. Next, we have The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I have another Grady Hendrix books coming up because I feel like they are often regarded as humorous, satirical, and I feel like this is going to be another good stepping stone into my horror journey. This one in particular is about a group of middle-aged women who join a book club, and they have a slight obsession with true crime. So when a man moves in and some children go missing, this book club starts to draw conclusions. What happens next? We'll have to find out. This is the other Grady Hendrix book, The Final Girl Support Group, and it is supposed to be a play. We'll do play. It's supposed to be a play on movies such as The Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream, and I feel like it's going to be really fun. We all know those movies where, those horror movies, if you watch horror movies, then you may know of that ending scene where the woman falls out of the woods and she's covered in blood and you finally know she made it out. She survived. Whatever happened, she made it. She's our final girl, our one lone survivor. And this is a book about those girls. All of the people in the support group has suffered some kind of massacre or tragedy, and they group together to talk about their post-traumatic stress with a therapist. And then one goes missing. And we find out that there might be a final girl amongst our final girls. Cool. I'm losing light. I had to re-record all of this and I'm losing light and I'm really sad about that. I hope I don't have to record a third time. Then I would be really, really sad. So speeding through the next few, we have Hurricane Wars. This is another one I know nothing about, but got absolutely obsessed with the look of. I feel like there's going to be magic. I feel like there's going to be maybe some romance. I don't know if it's a romantasy or a pure fantasy, but I do know that there's a map in it. And sometimes that's all you need, is a really good map. So there we have the Hurricane Wars. That one was quick. And then we have Betty. This one's going to be a heart-wrencher. I am going to sob. I am going to cry my little eyes out. And I'm going to love every second of it. This is one of the favorite books of one of my favorite content creators on YouTube. And I trust her. I'm realizing that I trust a lot of people with a little too much of myself. But maybe that's just who I am. And I trust this person to recommend me Betty, and for me to then recommend it to you. I'm so excited to read this. It is a story about Betty Carpenter, who was born of a white mother and Cherokee father, and is one of 8 siblings, and there's going to be hardship and strife, and she is going to have to find herself and be resilient. And she does so by learning to write. And that's her source of escape. And so I'm very excited to see what comes of this. Next we have Tress of the Emerald Sea. And this book absolutely dominated the tops of Booktube's 2023 list. And so I'm so excited to get started on this one. At first, it had absolutely no appeal to me. I'm going to be fully transparent here. Brandon Sanderson is one of the top names in fantasy, but it's more high fantasy. It's not quite the books that I tend to get into or feel like appeals to me, but I know it's good writing because of that. This book was also described as akin to A Princess Bride, but I've never seen A Princess Bride, so that's not really what sold me either. What did entice me, however, was one, that it's a pirate romance. Okay, we're getting somewhere. And that also this is a part of Brandon Sanderson's collection where he didn't write it for a publisher. He didn't pitch it first. He wrote without time constraint and without those other enticements that come with publishing deals. And he wrote it in particular for his wife. Just a story for his wife that's made out of the things that she in particular would enjoy. And if that is not the most romantic thing you've ever heard in your life, you are one of the lucky ones, because that is adorable. And his wife loved it and said, you have to share it with this world. And Mrs. Sanderson, thank you. I'm excited. I trust you. So that's Tress in the Emerald Sea. And then lastly, we have Lisa Jewell's None of This Is True. It is about a pair of birthday twins and untrusty narrators. And it's a thriller mystery. Lisa Jewell is one of the really well-known in thrillers. And I'm just overall so excited about this. So, yeah, we'll get cracking on that one too. That should be just about 30 books. So, if you stuck around this long, thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure. And I know that it might be getting dark, and the world's a little scary, and deadlines may be creeping up. So thank you in particular for taking the time with me, because I just feel like books are such a powerful escape, and until you find yours, I'm going to be right here for company. So talk to you soon. And what better reason to hurry up and make a YouTube grain of salt? Yes. There is a crime, and then they solve that crime. I think. Or more people die? I don't know. I'm starting to sweat. I'm really nervous. I'm so nervous. It's okay. Running amok. Us. Running amok. World and run amok us. So, run amok us. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna do it. I'm going to do it. This is where I'm gonna cut, by the way. Because of it, and we need to educate ourselves and try to break down these systems and improve them whenever and however we can. And that was a lot of what Babel was, which shook me to my core, made me sob, ruined my life, and then built it back up again. I love Babel. And so when it comes to the Poppy Wars, I don't know what it's about, and frankly, I do not care. I am going to devour this and love every second of it because I think we all need to, frankly. Yeah, I think we all need to read R.F. Kuang always. Thank you. I need a nap. I'm so totally gonna take a nap after this. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Boy. This is why I can't make YouTube videos, guys. I have so much anxiety built into my body that I feel like I'm 1% air, 1% water, and 98% anxiety. Refocus, retrain, re-embody. Oh, Chelsea. What do you got there? Oh, I got a book. You want to talk about books? Such as the center did. But what is the center about, you may ask? Let's find out. And I will say no more. Okay. May I just say I am so sweaty right now?